And Dave Nemechek is for a 2-year term. Commissioner Nemechek was unable to attend tonight's meeting, but has already been sworn in by myself. I now ask the 4 newly elected commissioners, please stand, raise your right hand, and repeat after me. In this case, I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this state, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of City Commissioner in and for the City of Gladstone, County of Delta, and State of Michigan, according to the best of my ability. Thank you. Congratulations. The floor is now open for nominations for the office of mayor.
I would nominate Joseph Mackey for the office of mayor. Support.
Okay, there's been a motion and support. Is there, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I ask that Mayor Mackey please stand up and raise your right hand. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this state,
and the Constitution of this state,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of mayor
the duties of mayor
in and for
in and for
the City of Gladstone,
the City of Gladstone,
County of Delta,
County of Delta,
and the State of
and
Michigan,
the State of Michigan,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Thank you. The floor is now open for nominations for the office of Mayor Pro Tem.
I would nominate Hugo Mattinen.
Support.
Okay, there's been a motion and support to nominate Commissioner Mattinen for the office of Mayor Pro Tem. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I ask Commissioner Mattinen to please stand. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this state,
and the Constitution of this state,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of Mayor Pro Tem
the duties of Mayor Pro Tem
in and for
in and for
the City of Gladstone,
the City of Gladstone,
County of Delta,
County of Delta,
and the State of Michigan,
and the State of Michigan,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my abilities.
Thank you. This concludes the reorganization meeting. I would now like to obtain each of your signatures in the oath book and present the gavel to Mayor Mackey for further proceedings. That one's for Commissioner, and that one for Mayor Pro Tem. Right there as Commissioner. And then as Mayor.
It looks the same both times, huh?
Thank you.
Call this meeting to order. The first order of business is invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Could Mayor Pro Tem Mattinen lead us in invocation, please?
Sure. Shall we pray? Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to meet tonight. We're Would be thankful also for each one that's made the special effort to come out and take part in tonight's meeting. We just pray that you would give us your divine guidance as we make decisions for this community, Father, and help us to do the best we can. We ask this in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will City Clerk call
Mayor-
roll?
Mayor Joe Mackey,
Here.
Commissioner Jay Bostwick, Commissioner Matt Gay,
Here.
Commissioner Hugo Mattinen,
Here.
and Commissioner Dave Nemechek.
Is excused, as you've explained earlier. He had a prior commitment. Next item on our agenda is public comment. Is there any public that has comment for us tonight? Hearing none, the next item on our agenda is conflicts of interests. City Manager, are you prepared to talk about that, or was that something carried over from a previous meeting?
This was from the last commission meeting, when the commission amended their rules of procedure. And we thought it would be appropriate to put this on our agenda at this point of the agenda. So at this time, if any commissioner wanted to bring to light if they had any personal, matters with anything on the agenda.
For
they
the
could-
agenda tonight?
For the agenda tonight.
Okay.
Right.
So I'm assuming none of the commissioners feel they have any conflict of interest with anything on the agenda tonight. If not, we'll move forward to the consent agenda, which consists of the regular meeting minutes of the City Commission held October 28, 2013, of a special meeting of the City Commission held on October 28, 2013, of the Gladstone Planning Commission, a regular meeting held on October 15, 2013, and also the payment of bills.
I would move that we would approve as presented.
I second it.
It's been moved by Mr. Mattinen, supported by Mr. Bostwick, to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Next item on our agenda is public hearings, and we have none tonight. Unfinished business, we have none of that either. New business, we have to set a public hearing for special assessment number 313. Darla?
Special assessment 313 is for the project that the complete reconstruct we did of Wisconsin Avenue from 7th to 8th Street. And part of the funding for that project was from special assessments. We are looking at the total project cost was $50,000. We are looking for special assessments in the total amount $8,723, and the balance $41,277 will come from the local street fund. And all of the property owners will be notified. They will have a chance to appear at the public hearing, comment if they so choose. So we're just looking to set the public hearing for the next regular commission meeting.
Darla, were all these property owners, did they know approximately how much they would have to pay?
Yeah, before we started the project, we sent them all estimates, total project cost. Public Works Director Barry Lund and I met with all of the folks. One couldn't attend at the location before the project even started. Flushed out any questions at that time. I think the project went very well. Heard nothing but positive comments from the residents that live on the street. It turned out very well.
I would move that we set the public hearing for November 25th, 2013, at our regular city commission meeting for the paving assessment, special assessments number 313 for the 700 and 800 block of Wisconsin Avenue project.
I'll second.
Been moved and supported to set a public hearing for our next regular meeting for special assessment number 313. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion is carried. We have a request to reappoint Ms. Judy Granger to the Planning Commission tonight. I think in the past we've asked that the mayor contact people for these reappointments. Obviously, I didn't speak with this person. I know Judy personally, and I think probably everybody knows Judy. And so I have no issue with reappointing her. Well, if anybody else has any comments on this appointment?
I think that's fine. I'm glad that she's willing to serve another term.
Absolutely. There's no opposition, then we will reappoint Ms. Judy Granger to the Planning Commission. Next item is we're going to do a semi-annual budget review. Responsible staff is Vicki Schrader, the city treasurer, but she's not with us tonight, so I guess that makes you the responsible staff.
Yep. At this time, I just wanted to go through each of the funds. What we're presenting here tonight is the department total. You know, at this time, we don't go department by department like we do when we're setting the budget for the year. Just kind of a high-level overview. So in the general fund, I kind of look at the far right-hand column there, percent budget used. In revenues, we're at 57.77%, so we've received 57% of our revenues that we had budgeted. That is pretty much right on track. The two major sources of revenue in the general fund are property taxes and revenue sharing. We've collected 92% of the property tax collection, and our constitutional and EVIT portion of revenue sharing are right on track. So I think we're doing very well, you know, as planned for revenues. On the expense side, in the general fund, you have to keep in mind seasonality. So for example, the parks, the beach, the campground, you're going to receive most of that revenue by this time. Some of the facilities were still open beyond September 30th, but so that percentage should be closer to 100, which they are. And then you have sports park. We haven't even really hit the main expense portion of the sports park yet. That's yet to come here. So that percentage would be typically very low at this point. That's kind of the highlights of the general fund. When you look at the street funds, the main source of revenue for the street funds comes from the state of Michigan Act 51 money. As of September 30th, we've only received 2 checks from the state, so that's why you're seeing 25% and 23% in the street funds revenue received year to date. On the expense side, under the major street fund, reconstruction there, that's our biggest budget item there. That's where you're going to see all of the expenses for the Delta Avenue project that we did earlier this year and the North 9th Street project. We will be reimbursed for a good portion of that project, which we haven't received that revenue yet from. That was a federal aid project. Delta Avenue was a federal aid project, so we haven't received that revenue from that project yet. That's yet to come. And the main project on the local street side this year was the Wisconsin Avenue project, which you'll see under reconstruction there as well.
Just a quick question, Darla. What is the normal time frame to receive payment from the state for these types of projects? Is it a little slower than usual? I mean, that was July, first part of July, now we're in November.
Yeah, but we didn't pave until, yeah, we paved in July.
It was before July 4th that it was.
The project wasn't completely wrapped up yet, though, by the time we, received final bills, paid them off. I believe everything has been submitted. We just haven't received the check yet for the federal aid
State's a
project.
slow payer.
Do we need to make a phone call?
I can check with the treasurer. I don't think so, but I can definitely double check. Next fund is the State Trunk Line Fund. This is the very minimal work that we do for MDOT on the US 241 and M35, complete reimbursement. By the end of the year, revenues will match expenses. 226 Solid Waste Fund. We are at 42% of revenue, which is almost right on track. We bill everybody monthly on their utility bill. Actually, the solid waste as well as electric, water, and wastewater billing is 30 days behind. So this is not quite 6 months revenue yet. We read the meters on the first of every month. By the time we do the billing, the usage is 1 month behind when they pay their bills.
We're still way ahead in revenues versus expenses, however.
Sure,
So it's
yep.
not a problem.
Yep. Mr. Rental Property, that was the, we had the 6 rental apartments that we were doing the projects for. We only ended up doing 4 out of the 6, and again, this is a complete reimbursement from the state of Michigan for the MR program. Dr. Mary Cretin's, we budgeted $162,841 to use of the money we just received in February 2013. However, we usually wait till February, March, towards the end of the fiscal year to make sure, you know, we've hit all the projects or that we were planning, you know, to do, and then we go ahead and do that transfer to the appropriate fund where the expense hit. So you'll see that activity in here in March of the year. 274 revolving loan fund, minimal activity there. This is the money that will be soon turned over to Northern Initiatives to administer. The $15,000 revenue you see coming in there, that's the rental payments from the loans that we have on the books. 369 Building Authority Fund. This is a fund set up specifically for the public safety building loan payment to USDA. It's budgeted out of the general fund, transferred here, and then the checks are cut out of this fund to pay that bond payment. 393 Economic Development Fund. The 4,200 revenue you see coming in there, that is for a land contract that we have with Bramco Containers. They're paying that on time, according to budget. Minimal expenses there. We went ahead and I fixed a couple of the signs at the entrances. Some of the businesses were not listed on there. We took down the ones where the businesses had moved and kind of rearranged the signs there. 401 Capital Projects Fund. This fund is set up specifically to track projects. The projects that we're tracking this year, the farmers market, we received the $50,000 grant from MEDC that will be matched by city funds to redo the farmers market parking lot on Delta Avenue. We run our GIS activity through here. We received the $10,000 2% grant from Hannahville for the trail from the city of Gladstone to P Road, which is kind of by the terrace there on the highway. That will be run through this fund, and also the South Hill Road signal project. Then we have 494, which is the Downtown Development Authority Fund. DDA gets 99% of their money from a tax capture. The other revenue that is brought in is either for special projects, or if you remember earlier this year, Elger Delta donated $1,000 to the DDA for economic development. And then also if we do a facade grant for a property owner, there is matching revenue that we take in and is spent as part of the project. The main projects funded out of the DDA this fiscal year, we gave $100,000 for the new docks down at the marina. We are funding a portion of a water project, and then the Delta Avenue and North 9th Street street projects that we did. Those are the main ones. 508, that's a new fund for us. This is the harbor fund. When we received the waterways money to put in the new docks down at the marina, we had to pull the harbor fund activity out of the general fund. It will be tracked separately in its own fund now, in an enterprise fund, completely user fee based. That's where the revenue comes from. And we have to choose one of the waterways tiers as far as the rates that we charge for the current slips that we have.
Same thing on that. We're still waiting on the
Right.
grant money.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. 582 is the electric fund. Revenue is here 40.95%. That's pretty much right on track. Like I mentioned earlier, electric, water, wastewater, and solid waste, we bill that out monthly to all the residents, and on the books, revenue is a month behind. So we're right on track with revenue there. And total expenses, 43%, pretty much right where we need to be. In the wastewater fund, revenues are at 43%, pretty secure there, and expenses are at 41%. So we're a little bit below budget on the expense side. And 591 is the water fund. Revenues are at 39%, and expenses are at 31%. So doing very well there. The next fund is the equipment fund, 661. This is the one that the treasurer and I are doing more analysis on. We had to submit a deficit elimination plan that was approved at our last meeting. We did go ahead and submit the letter that we had prepared. However, that wasn't quite enough information for Department of Treasury. So we are doing some more work. We have another 30 days, so December 4th, we will have more detail to Department of Treasury for that deficit elimination plan for the equipment fund. And our last fund is the cemetery perpetual care fund, 711. That's where the revenue is tracked for the perpetual care of the Fernwood Cemetery for the lots. So overall, at this point, I'm very pleased with where all the budgets are. I think we're pretty much right on track. No, nobody's gone over, at this point, to the point of no return. So doing very, very well on the budget.
That wasn't always the case. As I've said many times, I salute you and your staff for staying within our means and not putting us in a position where we have to explain to the state of Michigan how we're going to get out of trouble. Any questions from the commission?
It's a great job, all staff, department heads. Very difficult to stick to budgets when unforeseen things occur, and they've made it happen. Kudos.
Very good. Thank you. Moving on, next item on our agenda is the electric department storage facility. Mr. White.
Good evening. The electric department has had equipment sitting outside for years. It sits out in the weather, in the sun, in the snow, in the ice. Starts getting rusty. It's trailers and electric equipment, that type of thing. Pull trailers and wheel trailers. For that reason, I'm looking to put up originally a pole barn type structure, some type of structure to get it out of the weather. 40 by 60 building with steel roof and steel sides. So I went out for bids, and I've got two bids, one from Edge Enterprises for $56,800. That is a steel structure. The other one is from Westland Building. It's a wooden structure, pole barn type building, and that's $36,900. Talked to several people. There's advantages and disadvantages to both types of buildings, but I'm recommending going to the wood structure, since it is about 50% less. I think it should have a pretty good life expectancy on it.
Any questions from the commission?
Steel siding and roof, basic.
Yes,
basic
and
pole
it's,
barn.
the long
pole barn
side's
deal.
open. If somebody wants to put doors on it later on or something, they could. Right now, it's just going to be a gravel floor. It's just something
The big question is how soon are they gonna be able to put that up for you?
Well, if they can get the concrete in the ground, the rest of the structure they can work on during the winter, you know, because
Okay.
they'll have to have footings.
So at this point, you don't have any plans, Tom, of putting a concrete floor in?
No, but if it's set up so that you could someday if you wanted to, or if you decided you want more security and put overhead garage door type things on there, it's dimensioned so that you could put standard doors in there at a later date.
I think getting them out of the sun is a big thing. UV is really detrimental to
Yeah,
equipment.
You get new equipment, it starts getting rusty within a year, you know, so.
Only 2 bids?
Probably one of the reasons is it has like about a 15-foot ceiling in it, so you can have bucket trucks can back into it or whatever, so the structure gets a little
You
bit.
sought more bids than that, or just do a public notice? You were
I
looking
just
to
went
bid?
out through the Builders Exchange, it was in the newspapers, but I only got 2 responses.
Huh. So, what is your pleasure?
I would move that we accept the bid from Westland Building for $36,900.
I second.
It's been moved and supported to accept the bid from Westland Construction for the electric department storage facility in North Bluff Industrial Park. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion's carried. Next item is to award South Hill Road Warning Flasher Project, which our city manager has been diligently keeping on top of, sometimes feeling like nothing was going to happen, right?
I'm very pleased to talk about this. Friday, November 8th, 2 p.m., we opened sealed bids that were submitted for the South Hill Road Warning Flasher Project. We had a mandatory pre-bid meeting on Monday, November 4th, and 3 companies were present. So we knew at most we would have 3 bids on Friday. We only received 2 bids, and those were analyzed by staff and Scott Emmons, who is the OHM project manager, and we are recommending one minute. So the 2 bids that were received, J Ranch Electric, $22,750, and Wright Electric, $33,899. The third contractor was Rock Electric Service, which no bid was received. We are recommending the low bid with J Ranch Electric at $22,750.
Just an observation that J Ranch, it appears just by the area code, that's not a local.
It is not.
And
Neither,
it doesn't look like any of the bidders were. I
Wright
mean, the
Electric is Marquette,
Marquette,
and J Ranch is the eastern part of the UP, the Sioux, St. Ignace, somewhere over that way.
oh, okay, because 989's below the bridge, it's only
Oh, yeah, their home office must be downstate.
Alpena or something
Yep.
like that, yeah.
But the guy that came to the pre-bid meeting mentioned he was from the eastern end of the UP.
Those were the only 2, huh?
And when did they think they would be able to start on the project?
ASAP, and part of the bid was that the whole project has to be done by December 31st, 2013.
Darla, does this fall within the estimates?
Yes, we received 30. I wrote that down here. We received 39,500 from Canadian National last year for this project. 10,000 was earmarked for engineering, which we had already spent just over $6,000 on with the first electrical company. After that company dissolved, I tracked down the engineer that did the plans. He is now working for OHM, so he's back on board, finished the plans. So there is 22,000, more than 22,000 available for the project.
Do we have any additional costs with Canadian National for their work, their connection at
No.
the? Okay, so there's actually a balance then of 6750.
Well, we still owe Scott Emmons from OHM
Okay.
when he came back on the clock to finish the project.
So is that above and beyond the 10,000 that was originally budgeted for engineering?
Possibly, not much though.
Okay, because I was just looking at 39.5 minus 22,750 leaves 16,750.
Yep.
So, and then 10,000 budgeted for engineering.
Yeah.
Six.
Yeah.
By the time we spent the 6,000, most of the plans were already created. He just had to do a couple finishing touches on it, put it out to bid.
Okay.
Minimal
But
work,
there's
but-
no, we're not going to get a bill from Canadian National for their part of the connection?
No, that was all part of the project.
Okay, cool.
And is the light going to be actually on the top of the hill?
Yes. On the top of South Hill, so when,
So you don't come down the
Traffic.
hill and run into a train.
yep, or make, for safety reasons, people were doing, U-turns at the bottom of South Hill Road and,
This has been a project that the public residents have been asking for,
Yes.
for a long period of time. I think this is going to be, I think this will make a lot of people happy. So I would move that we award the project to J Ranch Electric in the amount of $22,750.
I second it.
Been moved and supported to award the South Hill Road Warning Flasher Project. Per the city manager's presentation, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? I think the city manager deserves a lot of credit for sticking on this one. And there's going to be a lot of happy people that I know who bug me quite often about this. For good reason, too. I think that it's very annoying to run into a train and have to turn around or wait for it. Next item on our agenda is to allow the city manager, the mayor, and the clerk to sign appropriate documents for the sale of 1.5 acres along South Hill Road to Earl Robinson. We have a survey in front of us that's basically north of the existing storage buildings that are just before you start making the climb up the South Hill Road. Darla?
I've been in contact with Earl Robinson almost all of calendar year 2013.
He lives in New Mexico, I believe.
Yes, but is frequently in Gladstone, has relatives that live here.
Yep. Gladstone native.
Yep. So very interested in some new storage unit buildings at this location. This was a piece of property that the commission approved last year to be on the list of available city land for sale. So I sent the policy to Mr. Robinson, and he's followed that all the way through, submitted to me what he wanted it for. I checked with zoning, are more storage units allowable in that area? They are. October 15th, 2013, we presented a site plan to the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission approved that as presented. Mr. Robinson plans to build 6 new storage unit buildings on the new location and 1 storage building on the existing parcel that he currently owns. And from what we hear, these are definitely needed. There is not an available storage unit available within the city limits, so there's definitely a need for this and kind of fits in with what's already there, so.
Perfect
Yeah.
location for it.
It is.
Yep. So there are several documents that I need to sign as manager, and then the deed would be the clerk and the mayor to finish this transaction.
I'd move that we allow the manager, clerk, and mayor to sign the appropriate documents to make this happen.
Support?
Been moved and supported to allow the city manager, the mayor, and the clerk to sign appropriate documents for the sale of 1.5 acres along South Hill Road to Earl Robinson. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion is carried. Next item on our agenda is approval of transaction to J.L. King Properties LLC, which I'm sure 3 of the present commission is familiar with, but Commissioner Boswick, I'm not sure if you're familiar with this project.
No,
You probably should get some background then from the city manager before we go forward, I think.
Sure. The attached survey here is right along Delta Avenue, 5.97 acres. This is currently our Public Works bullpen area is what we call it, where we store equipment that's not being used. Our salt storage unit is there. There is one building there that we use basically to house things during the winter and summer based on seasonality. Mr. King approached me. We've been working with Mr. King probably for, I would say, 2 years now on this portion of the project. This is phase one of at least 2 phases, maybe even phase 3 at some point in the future for development in this area. So right now, I am looking for approval for the myself, the clerk, and the mayor to sign the deed for the 5.97 acres, that portion of the phase 1. So Mr. King can get in the existing building that we have on this site, remodel it this winter so he can open in the spring. He currently has 2 businesses in Escanaba. He's bringing one of the businesses here to this location, and then the future site plan that Planning Commission has already approved includes other buildings on this location. But for this winter, it's just the yellow building that's down there right now. He will convert that into a machine shop, basically. And then we're also working with Attorney Don Bacon is representing the city on the Bottomlands portion of this. Mr. Bacon did the Bottomlands transaction for the city in the past for Upper Lakes Coal, which is next to this. So he's very familiar with that process. That process has also begun as well. But at this point, we are just looking to approve the deed for the 5.97 acres so he can start remodeling this winter.
Questions? Is that enough of a summary? It's a pretty exciting project.
It is, yeah.
He does a lot of business with the federal government, especially the Coast Guard, refurbishing large vessels. He's got plans to put hard face steel dock in there and to dredge so they can bring large vessels in and work on them right at the water side. Pretty exciting project, I think.
The date for closing is still on track for November 25th.
That is our, the current agreement. So we're on our second agreement with Mr. King, and November 25th is the tentative closing date for this transaction.
One of the items that you and I discussed that was kind of causing a snag in this was an overhead transmission line there. Where are we at with that?
That transmission is not going anywhere, so we're trying to.
And he can live with it.
It's going to have to.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions?
Move that we allow the city manager, city clerk, and mayor to sign the appropriate documents and deed relating to this transaction.
Support. It's been moved and supported to approve the transaction to JL King Properties LLC. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. Final item on our new business is ground lease for Clark Drive in the North Bluff Industrial Park.
I'm proposing to lease a parcel of land, 250 feet by 400, to Steve and Vicky View. The parcel is located on Clark Drive in the North Bluff Industrial Park. I don't have a building number. There are no buildings at that location right now, so the assessor has not assigned a street address to that yet, but Clark Drive is the only street that goes by there. So looking to lease this to them for 5 years in exchange for a deed for Lot 9, Block 32, original plat of the City of Gladstone. That's a lot located on Delta Avenue. Mr. View purchased the lot on Delta Avenue quite some time ago, and it is not basically conducive to what he wants to do there.
Right next door to the Knights of Columbus building,
Correct.
700 block Delta.
So he is considering this business in the North Bluff Industrial Park. I'm doing a lease, so he has time to see if this is the right location for his business. The lease clearly states at the end of the 5 years, he can either walk away from the whole lease, he can purchase that property for $1. I'm also reserving 150 by 400 It's a small chunk north of the existing parcel for him to purchase at fair market value. That's part of the ground lease as well. So all of that in exchange for, he will deed the lot on Delta Avenue to the city. What he plans to do up there, e-recycling storage business, park some motor coaches and vehicles, and storage of an above-ground diesel fuel tank.
To fill his motor coaches, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Do you know, does that mean he's gonna get rid of all of his buses along the 9th Street over there?
He's going to try, this would be the permanent spot to park them for a long period of time. He's still allowed to have buses downtown for loading, unloading, or if one of the businesses in his current location needs to work on one of the buses, that could take place downtown.
Okay, 'cause I know sometimes he's allowed a certain amount of time there.
Correct.
He's definitely past it. They're in there for days at a time sometimes.
That's why, you know, in working with Mr. and Mrs. View, we thought this location would be more ideal to do the kind of business that he wants to do at that location.
I believe your staff has had a lot of negotiations over the
Yes.
problem you pointed out. They're trying to find an alternative site, and this is their proposal, really.
Correct. Yep. The site plan for this project was also presented to Planning Commission October 15th. They approved the site plan as presented, and they included, they wanted to see in the ground lease that they fence in the area that they're using. So that has been added to the lease as well.
Did they specify a type of fence or just?
They did not,
Just
so
a
then I kind of
security-
referred to zoning, you know, in industrial zone property, is there a certain kind of fence? There is no specific fence, so they do need to fill out a fence permit and give us a, kind of basically a site plan of the fence. And we can approve that locally through our community development department.
Any other questions?
I would move that we allow the city manager, city clerk, and mayor to sign the ground lease and all necessary documents for this transaction.
I support it.
It's been moved and supported to allow for the appropriate officials to sign the ground lease at Clark Drive, North Bluff Industrial Park for the Views proposed project. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion's carried. Next item on our agenda is the city manager's reports.
Last Sunday, I attended the Escanaba Township Open House for their new fire hall. They do have their new fire truck parked in there as well. Very impressive.
I also attended that. They are very proud
Very proud, very,
and very surprised that there's cooperation between the two units, because that wasn't always the case when I worked here, so.
Director Geyer was there too, kind of talking about the hydrant that's in the building. They can load their new truck in 3 minutes. 30,000 gallons in 3 minutes.
3,000.
It's impressive.
3,000, sorry.
That'd be a big truck for 30,000.
Hey,
3,000 gallons, yep, in 3 minutes. So Paul was kind of explaining that portion. Steve was kind of explaining the truck, and some of the township officials were there, kind of giving tours of the other part of the
Got
building.
onboard foam immediately. They don't have to add it. It's got onboard extrication equipment, so you don't have to wait for it to come from Escanaba. Steve Belangi will give you a ride in it anytime you want.
So now
I wanna
we're trying to
drive.
set up joint,
Well, I didn't say that.
joint training between Escanaba Township volunteers and our fire volunteers as well. So, very exciting. Couple meetings coming up. We have rec board tomorrow night. We have DDA Wednesday morning. I think I mentioned at the last meeting. DDA used to meet Tuesday mornings at 7:30. We've now changed that to the second Wednesday of every month at 8 o'clock at the electric department conference room, if anybody would like to attend that. Thursday, I will be in Marquette at an MEDC best practices session, community plans and public outreach. This is the first of several that they're holding in the UP. My director of community development is unable to attend that day, so I'm going to attend for her, and then she's already signed up for the next two. And last but not least, some more excellent news. The city applied for a Hannahville 2% grant. We asked for 86,000 and we were awarded 40,000. And that was to offset the cost of constructing the reservoir up at the ski hill for a permanent water source up there. If you haven't been up to the ski hill or that area, please stop by. The pond that they're digging is just very impressive. It's working very well. I've worked with some residents at the bottom of the hill. We did have to drain it while we were building it, and that caused increased water at the bottom of the hill. So some creeks had more water in it than normal. Went and visited a couple sites personally myself with the Assistant Director of Parks and Recreation, and they're very on top of any concerns that people have. We're right there addressing them. I think it's going very well.
In the past, that always wasn't the case. Kudos to you and Nicole for actually going out and listening to the residents and reacting to their concerns, because they haven't always been treated right in the past.
And they have brought that to my attention.
I'm sure they did.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're moving in the right direction with this. I just read a blurb. I can't remember exactly where it was, but Ski Brule is open.
It's open already, yeah.
Wow.
They always try to
So-
be the first ones to be open.
Yeah,
And it's largely man-made snow, of course, and that's what our goal is.
Right.
Well, as soon as we get that permanent water source, we will be able to make snow at a much warmer temperature than we've ever been in the past. So our goal is to be fully open by Christmas break.
Excellent.
That's all I have.
City Commission and committee reports, not normally anything there. And boards and commission reports, pretty much the same thing. I try and attend some of the, especially the Parks and Recreation Board. That's kind of one I've attended the most. I encourage our new commissioners to, try and pop in from time to time and observe. They'll probably want you to say something since you're a city commissioner. Be careful, because all of the decisions and the matters that they discuss probably are going to end up eventually in your court. But they certainly like to see us there, I think. So if you get a chance to go to a planning commission meeting, an EDC meeting, a DDA meeting, a Parks and Recreation Board meeting, try and make it. Back to public comment. To city commissioner comments. We'll start with Commissioner Matman.
First of all, I'd like to welcome Commissioner Bostwick to the commission. Good to have you.
Thank you.
And I'd like to congratulate our new mayor, Mayor Mackey, on his victory. I told all my relatives to vote for you. Got my vote.
Is that a compliment?
It is.
Oh, okay.
It is.
I told all my relatives to vote for you, so who's got more relatives?
I think I do.
Four more at least.
4 more, yeah. Other than that, for all the hunters out there and people that enjoy the woods this time of year, to have a safe hunt and hopefully a successful hunt. And that's all I have.
Commissioner Gay.
Well, I have to congratulate everybody. Mayor Hunter, Mayor Pro Tem Mackey, and Commissioner Bostwick, and Commissioner Nemechek. I think we've worked, as I said previously, the previous commission worked very well together, and I think both you gentlemen will be very good additions to our to the commission. Do good work for the city. That's what we try to do. At least that's what I try to do, and everyone I've worked with here so far. That's their goal. Another thing, of course, echo Commissioner Matnan's. Good luck to all the hunters. Make sure you have a safe and pleasant hunting adventure. I did read an article about Iron Mountain, city of Iron Mountain. There is talk about their police coverage being delegated to the county. I just wanted to remind everyone that what's been able to be accomplished in this city with the issues with the dollars, the budgetary dollars, and everything else, we've still been able to maintain a full service public safety department. While even other cities, I believe at one point when we were talking about our public safety department, it was compared to Kingsford and to Iron Mountain. And right now, Iron Mountain's considering, they're in the first stages of discussing delegating that authority over to the Dickinson County Sheriff. So just something to keep in mind. We've worked hard to try to keep all of our services, full services, specifically public safety. It's been difficult, but we've been able to do it. That's all I've got.
Commissioner Bosworth.
All right, well, first I'd like to congratulate Matt, Pro Tem Matt Nelm, and Mayor Mackey on getting reelected, and Dave Nemechek, who I'd like to be working with tonight, but obviously he's not here, and to work with Commissioner Gay. And also like to wish thank all the veterans, saying today's Veterans Day, and to wish all the hunters good luck. And I just had one other comment that someone sent me an email that just wanted to know why I know it's been the last couple of years we haven't done it, but if there's any way of getting back the leaf pickup.
I have a friend who mentions that to me every Wednesday morning, and he lives real near you, and he loves throwing that at me. What I say to him is that we told Darla when she became city manager that we had to live within our means. We weren't always doing that before, and staff came up with a number of items that we could stop doing in order to live within our means. And so what I said to my friend is, if it costs this much to pick up leaves, if you can substitute something else, we could put that in there, but we'd have to have savings in the same amount in order to put it back in there. Because it's not real expensive, but it is something that staff mentioned, and you probably have some comments on that. You probably hear that a lot too, right?
I do, yep, this time of year, can I rake my leaves out into the streets and we will not pick them up. It was a good discussion at budget a couple years ago. It continues to be a budget discussion item every year at budget time. So in the next 6 weeks, we will be at some budget hearings and we can approach it again. But like the mayor said, there's many streets that we would like to, even fix the potholes on or reconstruct even in some way, but the funds just aren't there. And 5 years ago, our street funds were both in the negative due to projects that we did. We had to tell the state of Michigan, how are we going to get out of this deficit? And we told them each year we will decrease our expenses by X amount. We did that. Today we have about $200,000 between both Major Street and Local Street in fund balance available. But another topic that we talk about at budget every year is winter maintenance. We do need to keep probably 50% of that kind of earmarked for a heavy winter. We've been fortunate the last couple winters. We haven't had a lot of snow and ice to, remove from the streets, and that definitely did our budgets, some good. But you never know when Mother Nature is going to dump on us, and we're going to need the funds there to maintain the streets for safety reasons.
But keep it in mind come budget time,
Yeah.
because you're going to keep getting told that, because my friend never misses an opportunity to hit me with that one.
All right, well, I'm done now.
Very good. Well, I'd like to welcome Jay as well tonight. I've known Dave Nemechek for a long, long time. In fact, several Lions Club members are in the audience tonight, and Dave's a member of the Lions Club. Jay, I don't know you as well, but I'd like to welcome you to the commission. We're all here to support you. It's probably a daunting task. There's a lot of new information, but if you need any help from us, feel free to ask. Darla and her staff are always there as well. I've gotten a lot of taxpayer suggestions, and there's some items there that I'd like the City Commission to become proactive in. I won't bring them up tonight because tonight's our reorganizational meeting, but there will be some things that I'll be challenging the Commission to become involved in. One of the things that you heard during the campaign was, what can we do about business in Gladstone? That's something I'd like to take a serious look at. We have entities that are out there that I think could be doing more of that type of work for us, and so I'd like to challenge them to do that. That'd be mainly the DDA. And I think that was one of the items you ran on, so I think you'll probably be very interested in that. So try and make it to a DDA meeting. I'm supposed to be there because I'm the mayor, and I will try and be there on Wednesday morning. Our number one priority always has to be, though, to live within our means so that we don't get ourselves in a situation whereby the state's looking over our shoulder saying, do we need to take over, or can you straighten out the mess? So, and I'd like to echo your comments as well. Today is Veterans Day. There are a lot of news items on TV6 News tonight. I noticed several items where actually the kids in high school were recognizing the veterans, and that's pretty touching that they actually can remember events that happened so long ago. We wouldn't be here talking tonight. We wouldn't have our freedoms if it weren't for the veterans. So thank you to the veterans. And then I noted this morning, I was going down the street this morning when I went out to make my rounds with my cohorts. We actually had snow on the streets, and there was a little bit of, I tested my brakes, and I see that the salt truck was out last night, I believe. Looked like it was out on Marble Avenue on the hill. I think Barry must have sent the salt truck out. So, it's that time of year, get the snow shovels out. With that, if there's no further comments, we'll move to city clerk comments.
Yes, welcome to the new commissioners and congratulations to the incumbents. I will be having an upcoming training or be telling all the commission is welcome to it, but especially the new ones for newly elected officials training. It's normally held in Marquette. So as soon as they publish those dates and whatever, I will be getting in contact. There was a recommendation or just a question by a couple of the supervisors that if any of the new or existing commissioners wanted to have a tour of the facilities or something, maybe we could schedule a day to do that. So
Highly recommended if you've never been in a water plant before, the wastewater plant, the electric department facilities, the public works facilities and rolling stock, etc.
yeah, so quite interesting. So I can get with the two new commissioners, but obviously if there's any existing ones that want to come along too, we can get that scheduled and whatnot. I would like to take this opportunity to thank my election workers that worked the election. It's a very long day for them, whether it's a big or a small election, but couldn't do it without them. And then also Renee in the community development office, who is kind of my partner that day, tag teaming both precincts. So I appreciate all the help that they give me. And the election turnout, I know I've been asked a few times for this report. It was up from what regular general elections are for our city when it's time to reelect the commission. It's 19.54% voter turnout that we had, which normally I think the last commission meeting we didn't even get 10%. So was it because we had a race? I don't know. Was it because, the school, Bay College Millage was on there too, but voters got out and voted. So I like to see that number going up each time, so it was a good turnout. That's all I have.
With that, we adjourn by leaving.
Move to adjourn.
I support.
I moved and supported to adjourn. We stand adjourned.